Hey, what's going on, guys? And welcome back to the Ether Show. I hope you guys are having a good week. I know I didn't upload last week, but that's just because I was like really tired and I was getting a lot of hours at work and I was driving home and I almost crashed. So I was like, okay, man, it's time to take a little break, right? You're getting a lot of hours. You're going to have to like just take the week off to get some rest. And I wanted to make sure that I don't like deliver any kind of half-ass content for you guys, because everything that I do to bring you guys value in some sort of way, whether it's helping you in a current situation or just changing your perspective on things. So the good thing, though, is that it actually helped me come up with my topic for this week. And so for the week that I took off, because I was kind of starting to burn out, I was starting to feel down and like not my usual self. And I figured I would actually talk about that with you guys because I realized in my podcast, it seems to do better. And I actually feel better when I'm actually vulnerable with you guys because, as you guys can tell, I'm sure that there are some episodes where I'm like really open with you guys about things, and then others where I just kind of like brief through the story. And I feel like in order for you guys to really get that value, maybe just actually being vulnerable with you guys and telling you guys about situations or when I feel off or things like that might bring so it might help you guys out through whatever situation you're in because you're like, okay, yeah, he does understand because of this story that he told, right? So with that being said, today we're going to be talking about why it's okay to be down sometimes because I feel like it's something that we all go through. Maybe we all feel it differently, right? But it's something that we all go through. Maybe we're like on a roll. You can probably be in a really good spot and then just like somewhere in the week, or maybe it's every 2 weeks for you, or it's a different kind of frequency. But you just feel like not yourself. Maybe you're like really motivated towards a goal and you're just like, you wake up the next day and you're like, why am I so like down? Why do I just want to stay in bed? And then we're also going to talk about at the end on how to change your perception and things to do when you actually start to feel down. So that way you stick to your daily habits that are helping you improve and you don't fall back into a deeper hole because you feel down temporarily. All right, so let's jump right into it. So for 3 of the days of last week, I was definitely not feeling myself, and I remember I'm not too sure. It might be different for you guys, right? I think we all feel like down in different ways, but for me, and maybe some of you guys are similar with this, it was a lot of self doubt, and I was like, oh, okay, like what am I really doing? And like questioning things that I know had like some kind of value in my life that was like making me happier or more productive. And I kind of felt lost too. And I really hate that feeling just because like I'm a kind of person that feels like they need to be in control of things, which is why it's like it was so like daunting to me. I was like, wow, like I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going. Like I just felt like I had nowhere to go. Like also just stuck. Um, and I was really like, and for me, I feel like there's some kind of frequency for it. Like for me, like it happens maybe like 2 or 3 times out of the month for like a day or two of the week where I'll like feel off. But I think this one really got a hold of me better because of the fact that it was longer. So it was like 3 days. So it was the first time it was like, a day extra that I was just really feeling down. So it started to make me really concerned because I thought I was like starting to slip, like I was losing myself and was going to like fall back into the hole. So what I did was I just kind of like stuck with my habits that I usually do. So like, I continued to watch motivational videos once a day. I did my little meditation like 3 to 4 times out of the week still, like I was still on my task and still doing things. But no matter what, it's like I didn't feel anything. And I guess that's where I started to get concerned and start to think where I was like, okay, what happens if I fall back into this? And then I just kind of like reassured myself like, okay, you know what? If it does happen, just keep doing the steps that made you get here in the first place. Now, I'm not sure about you guys, if you guys feel the exact same way, or if there's just like certain things out of there, like, oh yeah, I do feel like the self doubt part, but maybe I'm not like feeling lost, right? I know everyone feels it differently, so it's a little um, weird, but that's just what I've been aware of with myself, and that's why I always talk about, to some extent, in every podcast about being self-aware because you want to know how you're feeling and the reason why, because if you understand yourself more, then you can fix the problems that you're having trouble with. um, and it always varies, right? Like there can be a reason behind like you feeling down. So like for right now, I'm talking about just myself and how I feel. Usually for the most part, like if it happens, it's there's not really an actual reason behind it. I just like woke up like that. I don't know why. It's weird, but then I feel down for like the next day or two, three, if it's like what happened last week. Um, but maybe there's an actual reason, right? And I'm gonna tell one story about one of my buddies. He had called me, and he's out of state and stuff like that. Real cool guy, and he called me and he was like, "Man, dude, like I've been working at this company, and um, apparently I thought I was like collecting hours towards getting a license and then like making bank, but the problem is though is that um, I was actually have to work with someone who already has a license, and now he has no hours towards his license that he's been working there for like 6 months, right? So I was like, damn, that sucks. Like I'm not gonna lie, that's a shitty situation. That's understandable to be down about that. And I told him, I was like, well, there's a few ways to look at it, right? Like there's always a positive way, right? Like there's a blessing behind some kind of BS that you're going through, and that's how I choose to look at everything too. So like for me right now, I feel like there was definitely a blessing behind those past 3 days that felt like really uncomfortable last week, and I'll get into that later. But yeah, so he basically told me that, and then we started like looking at different solutions for him. We were coming up with ideas and stuff like that. And at that moment when he was telling me about it, I had like just gotten over the last week or whatever, and so I was like good for 2 days again. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, man, this is a lot more common than I thought. Like don't get me wrong, I know everybody goes through some form of depression, anxiety, whatever it may be, like that you have trouble with, and I think almost everyone experiences it, whether it's like something that you normally feel like a disorder, or maybe a loved one pass away. Then you do understand what sadness and depression is. Um, but I realize, yeah, just like how common it actually is. People feel it in different ways, whether it's just like you waking up and you feel it for no reason, which is also really common, or if there's an actual reason, which is more realistic as well, because like maybe you get into a car crash, on the freeway and stuff like that. So yeah, man, like a lot of people feel it, and maybe there's a different frequency with you guys. Maybe you guys feel it like once out of the month, or maybe it's like more often than you think. Maybe it is every week, and it for sure it's every week, and it hasn't changed up. And thinking about that made me start wondering what people do in those situations when they're feeling down for that week. Like, do they go back in bed, or do they have like a morning ritual? Maybe they never even tried that stuff because they haven't heard of it. And I was driving home, and I really started to think, how many people haven't heard of like some type of self improvement. So I know that like it's pretty much common sense, right? If you want a better life, you do things that make you happy, right? And it just like makes sense to us, right? It's like, why wouldn't that be like a priority in your life? And I always hear the word, or the, I guess you could say, phrase, um, common sense isn't common, and I believe that to some extent. But I think that the thing that really gets us the most is that we've been taught like all this other stuff, and sometimes we just don't hear about something even if it makes sense or it's simple. So we tend to overthink in those situations. So I was talking to my buddy Chris, and I told him, I was like, well, you know what, man, there's probably a blessing in all this. And he's like, oh, well, what do you think it is? And I was like, well, what's something that you would do if money wasn't important? And he said, he was like, oh, well, I'm not really even sure, man. And I was like, well, what's a hobby that you have or something that you really enjoy? And he was like, well, weed. And we both started laughing, and I was like, that's not a bad thing. Like, that's okay. And I was like, well, man, maybe this is your time to get maybe a different job that pays a little better, right? You're gonna have to like grind and stuff. But maybe you can start, growing bud in the backyard, right? And you go ahead and start selling and getting licenses and stuff like that, so that way you can make it legal and your thing. Because if it's not making you happy, or you're only doing it for money, then why does it matter? And then he was like, "Whoa, dude, you're right." He was like, "I don't even know why. Like, I really enjoy the whole entire process of that. Like, I've worked at a dispensary and I've grown before, and I've like wholesaled to an extent like it. And I was like, that's awesome, man. Like, so you already know what to do. It's just about doing it and getting some money. So get a different job, right? And go save up that money and then put it into your business and become a legal company and become a wholesaling company. And he was like, just, I guess, kind of blown away about it. He's like, you're right, man. He's like, this is my time. Like, maybe this happened because of the fact that I was supposed to do that, because that's what makes me happy and I really enjoy doing. And I was like, well, yeah, man, that's the point of life, you know. So like I said before, there's a blessing in everything that you do. And my blessing was that when I was feeling down, I knew what to talk about for the next podcast, because even though we're only 5 episodes in, right, which is awesome, right? We made it to 5. But even though we're only 5 episodes in, I realized I talked a lot about how to beat depression and anxiety and having the right mindset and things like that, which is all important. But I realized that we're not all going to be okay all the time, right? You're not going to be happy all the time. It's definitely good to strive to be happy for the most part in your life, but there will always be something that either happens um, and makes you down because of a certain situation you're in, or because maybe you're like me and you just wake up like that one day, right? And you just kind of like have to ride it through for the next 2 days or whatever, and then you're good again. So it's okay to not always be okay. You're going to feel down, and then maybe you're already at the point where like I'm at, where you're pretty happy with your life, regarding like regardless of whatever else is going around you. Like, you can look at the bright side of things, and you feel down. My suggestion would just be to go ahead and keep doing the morning routine that you have. And if you don't have one, then experiment a little bit. You know, life's all about experimentation and trying new things and learning about the things that you love. You know, like, if you're not experiencing, then I mean, what are you really doing? You know, like, money is cool and all, but I mean, I would much rather look back at life, like if I get to be old, and look back at all the things that I did and be like, man, that shit was cool, you know, and like really feel like I actually lived a deliberate life. So if you're feeling down, maybe it's right now, or maybe it was like, last week and you didn't know how to deal with it, right? One is just try to be aware of how you're feeling, right? Like, really just sit down and ask yourself, be like, okay, I know I'm feeling down right now. How bad is it? Maybe scale it from 1 to 10, and then think about ways that you can do things, right? Don't feed it, or don't fall into it, because then maybe it will actually take you down to a deeper hole. And I think that's actually, like, I mean, when I think back on it, like when I was really depressed and so with that, I would listen to sad music for some weird ass reason, and then like feed it, like, so that way I could feel more down, kind of like victimizing myself, when in reality, like, it's our life and we can choose what feelings to follow, and what we want to do ultimately with our lives. So yeah, and if you don't have a morning routine, sorry, if you don't have a morning routine, then create one. Experiment a little bit. Go on YouTube. It's the it's the second largest searching platform in the world, and it's not even like like it's so crazy how much information they have out there for you guys. And instead, like, we scroll Instagram, or we do all this other things, or we feed like our insecurities, or like, there's things you can be doing better with your time if you're feeling that way, to make yourself better. And then the next time that you feel down, you'll be better at handling the situation. You're like, okay, I know this shit comes and goes every month, or every 2 months, or however frequent it is for you, every week, right? um, and you'll know how to better deal with it. So just go ahead and stick with your habits, create one if you don't have one, and remember that there's a beginning and an end to everything. So even if you just started feeling down, eventually at some point within your life, right, it could be, I'm not going to lie, depending on what it is, it could be some time, right? But at some point it'll come to an end and you'll be happy again, right? So if it's just like a small feeling, it's probably going to take you like a week or two. So thank you guys for listening. I just want to let you guys know that on the next episode, I'm going to be introducing a new segment called Food for Thought, which is just going to be at the end of every episode. And I'm just going to be telling you guys like a quote or an interesting fact that kind of makes you guys think a little bit and see things a bit differently. Go ahead and follow The Ether Show on Instagram and Facebook. For Instagram, it's the downscore ether downscore show. And I'm also on TikTok. If you guys want to go ahead and follow that, I plan on putting some content out there soon, and that's just going to be go ahead and answering you guys' questions that you guys leave me on Instagram. So I'm going to go ahead and if if you guys go on my personal page at Jones Saeed, you'll go ahead and see those little circles right on the in the bio, and then go ahead and click on that and leave me some questions. Thank you guys again for listening, and I'll catch you guys next week. Peace.